even in their series. At Nationals Park in Washington, the New York Mets play the Washington Nationals. Tuesday Night Baseball is presented by Verizon. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Washington. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets play Game 2 of their three-game series against the Nationals. Tonight, the Mets will have their all-star pitcher Jacob deGrom on the mound for the first time since his historic all-star game performance. And in a game the Mets need very badly after losing 7-2 last night, deGrom is front and center.
Well, people talk all the time about things going viral. Well, Mr. deGrom has gone national. He really has. Last year, remember, he struck out 8 in a row. His all-star performance had everyone talking. It's been 13 days since he made his last start against the Giants, where he was fantastic. 8 shutout innings. We'll see if he's got it tonight.
The rest is an interesting question for deGrom tonight because the Mets, 2 starters who've had the extra rest coming out of the All-Star break, Bartolo Colon and Matt Harvey, struggled especially early in their starts. The 2 guys who were on more normal rest, John Neese and Noah Syndergaard, fared well. So how are we to look at deGrom? 13 days since his last start, but only 7 since he pitched in the All-Star game.
Well, I think with Colon and Harvey, you could tell it was location. They could not locate their fastball, and that's why they struggled. Now, when you look at deGrom, yes, it's 13 days since his last start, but I think that all-star performance not only was a chance for him to throw, he threw on the side in St. Louis. I think he'll be fine tonight, and the 13 days won't really weigh on his command tonight.
It's no secret that the Mets offense is struggling. They struggled in part last night because of some superior defense played on the other side.
Well, remember, the Nationals are not fully loaded, so their second baseman, Escobar, made great plays at third base. Span is out, so their center fielder, Michael Taylor, made a fantastic play. The MVP so far of the National League, Bryce Harper with a play, and Lobatone, the backup catcher, makes a fantastic play. So the backup players for Washington really performed well in last night's game.
And tonight they'll be playing behind a rookie right-hander, Joe Ross, who will be making just his 4th Major League start.
Well, they really are high on Joe Ross. They got him from San Diego with Trey Turner, his brothers Tyson Ross. They both have a great slider, throws hard, really accomplished young pitcher.
So the Mets will try and get even tonight in our nation's capital with their best pitcher on the mound. Mets and Nats, all the action coming your way on SNY. movie Southpaw starring Jake Gyllenhaal in theaters everywhere Friday. By Verizon, don't miss a moment of Mets baseball on the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network, only from Verizon. By Empire City Casino, Manhattan's closest casino. Your luck starts here. By Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. And by Bob's Discount Furniture, quality, choice, and untouchable value every day. Get to Citi Field this Friday, July 24th, when the Mets take on the Dodgers at 7:10. It's Free Shirt Friday, and all fans in attendance will receive a Jacob deGrom T-shirt, courtesy of Delta Airlines. For tickets, visit Mets.com/FreeShirtFridays. Time now to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag SNY DataStrongFan, and you might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. The road ahead is presented by Buick, and the road will take the Mets back home after tomorrow afternoon's game. A 10-game homestand, 4 with the Dodgers, starting against Clayton Kershaw Thursday night. And then next week, 3 with the Padres, and then 3 more with these Nationals. Follow the Mets wherever you are with MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com at Bat for your smartphone or tablet. All that having been said, there's baseball ahead in our nation's capital. First pitch is coming right up. And here's your Geico Mets starting lineup tonight. Kirk Neuenhuis gets the start in left field. Michael Cuddier's knee is still not sufficient for him to be in the lineup tonight. Pitcher hits 8th. Juan Lagares bats 9th. And the Mets, who were held to 2 runs on 9 hits last night, will face the 22-year-old right-hander Joe Ross.
His brother Tyson Ross pitches for the San Diego Padres. He was traded from the Padres over outstanding slider from Joe Ross, who's made 3 starts for the Nationals, being Steven Strasburg's caddy.
And Matt Williams said today that Ross is going to remain into the rotation until Strasburg is ready to come back from his oblique injury. Curtis Granderson leads off, takes a fastball outside, and we're underway. Curtis 1 for 5 last night, having a good road trip, 6 for 17 in the 4 games so far. 91 degrees at game time, still some sun on the field out in the outfield. And Granderson takes a strike, and it's 1-1. Just a sun dappling in center and in right for Taylor and Harper to contend with. Matt Harvey, who had a good and bad night last night, not necessarily in that order. Really? Anderson takes just off the plate, and it's 2-1.
Really was a tale of 2 games for him, wasn't it, Gary? Beat up early, 5 runs in the first 3 innings, and then 14 in a row to end it.
Almost as though he got energized by his 2-run hit that produced the only runs the Mets scored last night. 2-1 to Granderson leading off, and he flies one to left field. Matt Dendecker settles under it and puts it away for the first out of the night.
Well, the defense behind Joe Ross, Coors Light defense, great plays we showed by Michael Taylor and Bryce Harper last night. Dendecker, the ex-Met. Infield, 11 ground ball outside of 27 outs. Good playing by Escobar and Espinoza. And Wilson Ramos, who had the night off, Lobaton with that good catch. The Met killer back there behind the plate.
Ruben Tejada is the Mets' hottest hitter right now. 1 for 4 last night, has an 8-game hitting streak, hitting .353 over those 8 games. And that has won him the 2nd spot in the batting order for the moment.
You notice that Ross throws from the third base side of that dugout. The reason he does that, he kind of crossfires, throws a little 3/4, which makes it very difficult on the right-hander, especially when he throws his great slider.
He's not quite as big as his brother. Tyson Ross is more 6'5", 230. Joe is 6'4", 205.
Still, though, built perfect for a perfect pitcher's body. 6'4", 200.
There's a 6-year difference between the brothers. Tyson's 28 and Joe is 22. A little nubber off the end of the bat, and an easy play for Ross to get Tejada for the 2nd out.
That was that slider, Gary, just off the end of the bat from Tejada. I don't care how much tape you watch. Until you see it live, you don't realize how late it breaks. Both Tyson and his brother Joe, great slider. Joe, I think, throws a little harder than Tyson Ross.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Daniel Murphy hitting 3rd in the order. Murph 1 for 5 last night. Just 3 for 20 on this road trip. The other difference between the 2 Ross brothers is that Tyson opted to go to college, went to Berkeley, where he was a teammate of Josh Satton's, whereas Joe was going to go to UCLA, but then the Padres drafted him in the 1st round, and the offer was too lucrative to turn down. Murphy has to move his feet 2-0.
You get drafted in the 1st round, it means 1st round money. I mean, that's how it goes. Go to college later.
So they were, although they're 6 years apart in age, Tyson and Joe were drafted only 3 years apart. And Joe, after a relatively short apprenticeship, after being drafted in 2011 out of high school, here in the big leagues and doing well. Murphy takes one toward the hole. Nice backhand by Desmond. The throw on a hop. Got him! Ball didn't have a lot on it, but that one hop throw got to Robinson in time for Murphy to be retired for the 3rd out. And thus a 1-2-3 inning for Joe Ross. The only change, Wilson Ramos getting the start behind the plate after Jose Lobaton started last night. That start the night with a 3-game lead on the Mets. And Michael Taylor leads off against Jacob deGrom, who fires a fastball by him.
Boy, Taylor was ready, swinging on that first pitch. Those are his numbers. Last 10, 6-2 with a 1.38 ERA.
And here's maybe the most telling statistic about those 10 starts. In the last 10 games he's pitched, he's given up a total of 7 extra base hits. He has just been completely dominant. And he takes care of Taylor on 3 pitches. So he picks up where he left off in the All-Star game. Took him 10 pitches there to strike out 3. Only 3 pitches to strike out Taylor.
Good morning, good afternoon, good night. It's a defense behind Jacob. Not that he might not need it tonight. Flex's defense, Neuenheis, Lagares, and Granderson in the outfield. Murphy, Tejada, Flores, and Duda back in there. Had the night off last night as Eric Campbell played first, and Plawecki's back in there.
Danny Espinosa hitting second in the order. Had 2 hits last night, including a drag bunt in the first inning that got the whole machine started for the Nats. And he takes a strike from deGrom. Talking to Terry Collins about deGrom's performance in the All-Star game, he said what surprised him most wasn't that he was throwing hard and that he struck people out. It's that his command was almost perfect for how amped up he was.
He has the ability, and I certainly did not when I pitched. When I got too amped, the ball was all over the place. When he gets amped up and pumped up, he throws more strikes. I don't get it. It's wonderful to watch, though.
5 pitches, 5 strikes to start his night. To his first changeup to get ahead on Espinosa, 0-2. Espinosa at 255 has played most of the second base with Rendon out, and he fouls it back. 97 from deGrom. Bryce Harper standing on deck. This is one team that deGrom has never beaten. Has 2 losses against the Nats this year. Pitched very well in one, not so well in the other. 0-2 lifetime in 3 starts against Washington. And Espinosa fouls one into the ground.
Yeah, in his young career, only the Cubs and the Nationals really have given him any trouble. Or the most trouble. How about that?
Reigning rookies of the year coming back the next season. No sophomore jinx for those guys.
Whoa. I got to witness that year in '85. I was the guy that would chart all of those games by Gooden.
All those guys have something else in common, including Gary Peters. They're all good hitters.
Yeah.
Popped it up on the third base side. Murphy to the railing, but it's out of play. In fact, I remember when Gary Peters pitched for the White Sox back in the 60s, and this is, of course, before the designated hitter, he would sometimes bat 6th. That's how good a hitter he was.
Well, I'll tell you, charting Dwight in 1985 when he went 24-4 with a 1.53 was the equivalent of baseball performance anxiety for me. I mean, he would strike out 10 to 12 and throw 100 pitches. It was the most phenomenal thing I'd ever seen.
And then you got to pitch the next day.
Oh, I could have really been somebody if I'd had someone not as good in front of me.
Struck him out. Foul tip held by Plawecki. So back-to-back strikeouts for deGrom, and he just keeps mowing him down just like he did last Tuesday.
Well, this was something to watch. Like you said, pitching to Yadier Molina, just filling up the strike zone, and Iglesias, the last strikeout, on a little bit of a slider. Could have done without the baseball cap. Not my favorite.
No.
But unbelievable by deGrom. First.
And that has been confirmed now. The Elias Sports Bureau went back and checked all the All-Star Game performances going back to the genesis of the game back in the 30s. And it is true that no other pitcher had a strikeout the side 10-pitch inning.
You really have to watch out these days because everybody wants to be first with the news. It doesn't always mean it's right news. So you wait for the Big E, the Elias, to come at you, and then you know it's good.
Bryce Harper walked twice last night against Matt Harvey, then went 0 for 2. Third in the league in hitting, tied for first in home runs, fourth in RBIs, leads the league in on base and in slugging percentage, just having a phenomenal year. 2 balls and a strike to Harper.
Just the way he is taking balls that are close around the strike zone, pitches that he always used to offer at before, uber aggressive. Those have changed a little. That's why he's having the year he's having.
Good looking slider by DeGrom to get even 2-2.
See that nod back to the umpire McClinsky. He's asking, was that a strike? It was. Late break.
Two. Up and away. Just not biting on that pitch anymore.
I mean, I said it before. Harvey pitched last night. That's the difference for him. That was a strikeout pitch for him earlier this year. He lays off it now.
3-2 from DeGrom. And Harper with an ugly hack able to foul that off.
3-2 changeup. That's the first one he's seen. So to foul it off, kudos to. I mean, that ball just dropped at the bottom.
Almost like a splitter rather than a changeup. Three-two, fouled away. It's quite a battle between these two all-stars.
In fact, I read a story that after the game was done, Harper came up to DeGrom, gave him a hug, and said, "I'll see you on Tuesday."
So he wasn't saying he was lucky like he said about Greinke.
I've never hugged a hitter before, but it's a gentler game now. I remember I used to be afraid of certain guys. You know, you'd walk around, Dave Winfield would be there, he'd kind of nod, but you wouldn't really talk to anybody because you weren't really supposed to do that in those days.
I think the game is a little more welcoming of its young stars. There were certainly plenty of them at the game this year.
Yeah.
Ninth pitch of the at-bat, and that one's fouled off as well.
In '85, I had to go up. I didn't have to. I wanted to. I went up to Nolan Ryan, and I said, "Nolan, would you mind taking a picture with me?" He's like, "Yeah, no problem." Took a picture. I was like so nervous, though, to go up to him and ask him.
DeGrom working hard on Harper after striking out the first two hitters. And Harper gets under one to right field. Granderson camped under it waiting. And that retires the side. DeGrom wins that battle. No score after one. Second inning, no score. Lucas Duda will lead off against Joe Ross. Duda was out of the lineup last night. He did pinch hit late in the game and had a base hit. And he pulls one into the shift. Espinosa from the outfield grass throws him out. One away. Well, earlier today, all the Mets players and coaches made their way to Walter Reed Army Hospital to meet with wounded veterans, and they had a great time with the vets and their families today. It's become an annual pilgrimage for this Mets organization, and it is always inspirational for everybody who makes the trip.
I think it's just a great thing that the Mets do to go over there, and they all wore their fatigue kind of uniforms, and every year I know it means a lot to the folks that are there.
Wilmer Flores bats with one out. Flores 1 for 4 last night. So last night I went on a bit of a riff about the first name Wilmer because the Mets have Wilmer Flores, and the Nats had Wilmer Defoe, who got sent down today. And I misspoke at the time, said that they were the first 2 Wilmers in Major League history, and it turns out that's not the case. So I did a little research on the first name Wilmer, as Flores pops one up and Espinosa waits for it to come down. And that's the second out. The problem is that most of the Wilmers past didn't use the name. The first Wilmer in Major League Baseball was a guy who went by Billy Shantz. He was a catcher for the A's back in the 50s.
He hated Wilmer so bad he went to Billy.
Then there was Vinegar Ben Mizell, whose first name was really Wilmer. He actually pitched for the Mets at the end of his career. And here's one that I bet you never would have guessed. Dean Chance,
the Minnesota Twin pitcher,
the Cy Young pitcher for the Angels, pitched for the Mets at the end of his career. Dean Chance's first name is Wilmer.
Wow.
There is one other guy besides Flores and Defoe who went by Wilmer, and he pitched in 5 games with the Rangers a couple of years ago, Wilmer Font. So those are all the Wilmers who have participated in Major League Baseball.
And you call these people friends that that text you and email you to make sure that when you misspeak?
I would say that of the people who contacted me, there were friends, and then there were people who were up in arms.
Calm down, folks. Come on.
You know, we strive for perfection here. Sometimes we fall short, and we appreciate when people notify us of our imperfections.
German derivation means resolute or famous, Gary, just for more information to give to your folks.
Really? Yes. That's good. That's a good thing to have as an athlete.
There you go.
By the way, our equipment is falling apart behind us. Our entire set is just, it's going down like Merv Griffin with Kramer.
That's right. That's right. Kind of get a real good feeling when our things don't always work properly.
I always like when we're up in the booth here and we get the garbage can in the shot.
That's right.
It's always a big plus. 2-2 to Neuenhuis, and he fouls it back. Kirk getting his 12th start with the Mets. Came off the bench last night and struck out. So you can see our set has been destroyed. So see, it's about a 10-mile-an-hour breeze blowing in, and it blew everything over. So.
Looks like a bad apartment. That's what it looks like behind us.
Neuenhuis hits one out to left center field, chasing Taylor back to the warning track, and he gets there to make the catch. That ball took off on Taylor, but he was able to ease back and make the play. 6 up and 6 down for Ross. Still no score. There are your Major League ERA leaders since last year's All-Star game. DeGrom second only to Zach Greinke, who the Mets will see on Friday night. That's presented by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Enter promo code NYM for free entry. Yunel Escobar takes a strike as we start the home second. Escobar 1 for 4 last night, drove in a run, made a couple of splendid defensive plays. He has been the most important surprise for the Nationals this year. Grounds one slowly to third. Murphy coming in and throws him out, one away.
Well, Murph had a similar play last night on a ball like that and threw it wide at first. So good adjustment, accurate throw. When you throw that ball to first as a third baseman, you've got to aim that at kind of like the right shoulder or off the right shoulder, because that ball will come back into the baseline a little bit.
So 1 out and nobody on. Here's Clint Robinson, who has had the Nats' biggest hit last night, a 2-run double against Matt Harvey. Robinson filling in at first base till Ryan Zimmerman is ready to go. And DeGrom misses with a slider. 2-0. Robinson, last 7 games, hitting .385, lifetime minor leaguer who has gotten a chance to play at age 30 and really cashed in his opportunity. All speed pitch fouled away.
I mean, it's pretty amazing when you think about it. You got to admire the Nationals and the way they've played without some of their best players.
Well, really, when you look at it, it's been the difference between these two teams is that the Mets have not been able to compensate for the loss of their stars in the middle of the lineup, and the Nats have. Fastball strike, 2-2.
Just a deeper roster. Right. That's all it is.
2-2, up and in, full count. Well, there are 4 guys of their 8 regulars who are out right now, and 3 of them, Rendon, Zimmerman, and Wirth, have been out for an extended period of time.
That doesn't show Steven Strasburg, their pitcher, who's out, and that's why Joe Ross is starting.
Robinson lifts one to right. Playable for Granderson, and there are 2 out. Well, the upshot of this for the Mets is they're going to play the Nats with all those guys missing from the Washington lineup in this series, but then they play Washington in a week and a half, and it's likely that 3 of those regulars are going to be back in.
So for them, it's like they are getting all of these great talented players at the trading deadline.
Meanwhile, the Mets stalwarts, Travis d'Arnaud, doing some hitting now, might be in a rehab game by the end of the week, but I wouldn't think he's likely to be back by that next Washington series. And David Wright hasn't even been cleared for baseball activities, and there's no telling when he might be back. So the Mets are pretty much stuck on neutral as far as getting any reinforcements. Michael Kadyr's knee is very much a question now, and there's some question as to whether he'll go on the disabled list or not. That's pulled through the hole, a base hit for Desmond. And the Nats have the first base runner of the night. Well, that's since 2011. And the Nats have had the firm upper hand. Last year, the most lopsided season. They won 15 and the Mets won only 4.
I mean, 30 games under 500. That's how it used to be against the Braves, didn't it? Well, Ian Desmond with that hit, you were mentioning to me today, he owes Cal Ripken maybe a dinner, because Cal and he had a talk, and Cal just said, what, Gary? He said he had struggled one year and he was able to get out of it.
He said, I was hitting under 200 halfway through the season, and I survived, and you'll survive too. And Desmond said it provided him with a little bit of comfort, and last night he had a 2-run homer off Alex Torres. Now a base hit his first time up today, and we'll see. Maybe Cal's counsel will work for him.
For any big shortstop who hits home runs, Cal's an icon. I mean, when they grew up, they were watching him saying, I want to be like Cal Ripken someday.
Wilson Ramos sat last night. He has been a Met killer, .340 lifetime batting average against the Mets, but struggling this year, hitting just .248 with 8 home runs, just a .277 on base percentage. big positive for Ramos this year is he has stayed healthy.
Yeah.
He has only had one season in which he has been able to play more than 88 games. And he's already in his 72nd game tonight.
Such a great kid who's been through such a tumultuous kind of life. Kidnapped.
Desmond takes off. Plawecki's throw arrives in time. Nice tag by Flores, and they get the out at second base. So Desmond is caught stealing to end the inning. Matt Williams will not challenge the call. Flores got the tag on the leg of Desmond. And that gets DeGrom through the bottom of the second. No score in D.C. By 3 games over the Mets.
Scalia didn't write the opinion, did he?
Yeah, Thomas had nothing to say. Kevin Plawecki leads off for the Mets in the third. Plawecki sat last night after catching 18 innings on Sunday. And he takes a strike. A well-earned day off yesterday. Plawecki went 2 for 8 in that Sunday game and had a sacrifice bunt in the winning rally in the 18th. I'm always amazed when catchers catch in long games and can produce in extra innings. As Plawecki did. He had 2 hits and that sacrifice in extra innings. Molina had 2 hits late in extra innings. And Ross wipes out Plawecki with the slider for his first strikeout.
Well, he had 11 strikeouts of the Pirates in his last start for these Nationals. So if he gets ahead of you, that slider, like you said, Gary, is a wipeout pitch.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Jacob deGrom hitting 8th in the order. Here's a recent performance stat that I don't think I've ever used before. Okay. Met pitchers have had a hit in 7 of the Mets' last 8 games, and they're hitting .350 over that span.
Don't rub it in. Don't say it too loud.
It's just a fact. These guys can hit. DeGrom flies one down the left field line. Dendecker near the sidewall, leaping to make the grab. Nice play, Matt Dendecker. We know what he's capable of with the glove.
Well, 3 different stints with the Mets last season, and we saw a lot of this. Reckless abandon by Dendecker. Tougher being a lefty because that glove right against the fence.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Juan Lagares.
I have to check that, Gary. If you're right-handed, it'd be tougher because you have to reach across your face. Left-handed gave him a better chance to make that play.
But the railing was high enough in that place where you get squeezed.
Yeah.
Even though you're left-handed, you know what I mean? You can't go over the railing to get the ball. You have to squeeze your glove between the railing and where the ball is.
And plus your elbow and arm are exposed to that railing as opposed to kind of reaching over. But still, great catch.
There's that good breaking ball by Ross. A ball and a strike to Lagares, who had 2 hits last night. Looked a little better swinging the bat. Drove one to right center for a double. Reds are hoping for Lagares to break out offensively. Got off to the good start this year, but both offensively and defensively, it's been a disappointing last couple of months.
Now, if it's injuries are injuries, and they can affect how a player plays. If it's not, you almost want to shake them and say, do you realize how good you are?
And trying to butt his way on, and that doesn't work. With Escobar playing back at third. I don't think that's the play you want from Lagares with 2 out and nobody on.
I mean, he did steal a base last night, so if he has the intent of bunting and stealing a base, maybe it's not a horrible play, but he's got extra base power. That's what he should be thinking about. Hit a gap, get in scoring position for Granderson.
That's looking for their first base runner against Joe Ross, who's retired his first 8 batters. And a ground ball for Espinosa. So 3 perfect innings for Joe Ross to start his night. We go to the bottom of the 3rd in D.C. with no score. With SNY Game Day on SNY.TV, featuring pitch-by-pitch coverage, player cards, and in-depth stats. Check out SNY Game Day on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Wilson Ramos was at the plate when Ian Desmond was caught stealing to end the 2nd, so he gets a fresh turn at bat. And takes a strike from DeGrom.
Every time I see Ramos, he reminds me of Andres Galarraga. Came from Venezuela, the same country. I'm sure when he's growing up, he adopted his hitting style, that wide open stance. Kind of built the same. Galarraga was a little taller.
I remember right at the end of his career, Galarraga came to spring training with the Mets.
Oh, he did?
And
wasn't he close to a home run or something?
He had 399 home runs in his career. And he was hoping to get one last shot so he could get to 400, but he didn't make the team and left with, as you can expect, because it was Galarraga, an enormous smile on his face. He was just delightful to be around.
Yes, he was. And a great player.
2-2 to Ramos.
And they called him the Big Cat, not because it was his body, but he also was a tremendous fielder. Great athlete.
Probably the best right-handed fielding first baseman of his day. 2-2 to Ramos. And he busts him inside. 3-2. Matt Dendecker on deck. Then the pitcher Ross. DeGrom's run more full counts than he would have liked early in this game, and thus thrown more pitches than you would expect, having allowed just one base runner. Ramos lifts one to shallow right. Granderson edges in. 1 out.
I remember after I was released in 1995 by the Oakland A's, I thought about calling the Mets and see if coming to spring training, because I had 99 wins, saying, you know what? Why don't I come to the Mets? Like, get one more win and then maybe I call it quits, or maybe I'm still can get people out. But then I was reminded that the year before my ERA was in the 6s, so it was not good. There's a good chance I was getting more losses than wins.
David Cohn tried that.
He did.
He came back to the Mets for spring training at the end of his career, and Mets played the Dodgers in an exhibition game in Mexico City, and you know how thin the air is there, and the fences are short, and the turf is hard. Dodgers and Coney pitched. I forgot how many he gave up, but the Dodgers finished the game with 30 hits. And that was pretty much a sign that the end was near.
Ball was traveling like Bob Beeman.
Every athlete has that expiration date.
That's right.
And no matter how great you've been, there comes an end point. Pulled down to first, and Duda handles the hot shot. Lucas continues to play excellent defense, and Dendecker's retired. 2 out.
Well, ready position, that's the key. And just kind of side saddle catches it to his left. Nice play by Lucas, who's, you have to say one thing, his offense has gone backwards, certainly, but his defense is so much better than it was a couple seasons ago.
Now Joe Ross, 1 for 9 at the plate in his brief big league career, making his 4th start tonight. Ross was 1 for 11 in his minor league career. It really perturbs me that National League pitchers in the minor leagues don't get to bat till the upper portion of the minor leagues.
Well, and I hear it from people all the time. They say, what's wrong with these pitchers? How come they can't hit better? Well, think about it. No batting practice, no chance to hit, and you come in the big leagues and you hit 150. People go, oh, 150 is horrible. Hey, players who play every day, some of them hit 200.
Or less.
Or less.
Well, the problem is now you have DHs in college, you have DHs in high school, you have DHs in American Legion Ball.
That's right.
DeGrom strikes him out with a curveball. 3rd strikeout of the day for DeGrom. He's faced the minimum through 3. No score. Jacob deGrom and Joe Ross matching zeros. Get all the reaction from tomorrow's Mets-Nats finale, plus up-to-the-minute info on all the latest Mets trade news and rumors on Loudmouth tomorrow at 5:30, only on SNY. Let's check in with Steve Gelbs. His report tonight is brought to you by Prism. Steve?
Gary, Lucas Duda is 14 for his last 100 at the plate, but clearly he's not taking the offensive woes with him into the field. We saw it in that last half inning, snaring that ground ball by Matt Den Decker. And you talked to Tim Tuffle about Lucas Duda, and he said he's a type of guy that actually has gotten better as the season's gone on. He's almost turned himself into a flawless defender, according to Tuffle, who said at the beginning of the year struggled a lot with the picks and the backhands first month of the season or so, but has really smoothed that part of his game out. Tuffle said he wasn't surprised that Duda was not the type of guy that was affected by his offensive woes at the plate. He said in the truest sense of the word, Lucas Duda is a two-way player, meaning that he actually does care just as much about what he does in the field as what he does at the plate, which is not the case with every person. So for Duda, at least, he doesn't define himself by only the offensive side, and thus he doesn't take it with him to the defensive side.
You know, it's interesting, Steve, is that if you ask anyone on the Mets, especially Terry Collins, he always has the same comment about Lucas, doesn't he? Unbelievably hard worker. So he's done it on both the offensive side, and sometimes that works against you, to tell you the truth, because if you're not practicing perfect, but he always works hard on his defense also.
I remember when he was shoehorned into left field, and finally got a chance to play his natural position, and it has certainly paid off for the Mets. I think that the perception was, when the whole Duda-Davis question was on the table, was that Ike was the far better defender. That's proved not to be the case.
I agree.
2-2 to Granderson, who flied to left his first time up. And he hooks one toward the middle, base hit. Just got it by Espinosa. Granderson, the Mets' first base runner of the night. A leadoff single to start the fourth.
Well, see the defense before this hit. Espinosa's playing to pull and deep on the grass. So anything up the middle is going to elude him. And that ball's hit right on the nose.
So Granderson, who had 2 stolen bases on Sunday, is on first base. Now, Joe Ross's brother Tyson is probably the worst pitcher in baseball at holding runners on. They run freely against Tyson. Can Joe hold runners any better?
Worse than Chris Young? No, Joe in fact holds runners pretty closely, so he's pretty good. Got a good move. So not like his brother at all. The thing about Tyson is that he's slow to the plate, but he also throws a lot of sliders in the dirt, so that makes it difficult on the catchers also. But Chris Young always had a hard time. To 6'11", Chris Young.
What works in Chris's favor now? Yes, Tejada takes a slider out of the strike zone, is that he pitches for the best base stealing team in the American League.
Yes, and he pitches to Salvador Perez, who's pretty good at throwing.
I mean, imagine if he pitched against the Royals.
Yeah. Track beat.
Tejada hit a comebacker his first time up. Well, Granderson had not been running at all. And then he had that incredibly high energy game on Sunday when he came off the bench and hustled a double, stole 2 bases, and you wonder whether that could be a turning point in his season as far as his confidence in his ability to still steal.
Well, Lagares stole a base last night. I mean, with the Mets offense the way it is, you got to go. Got to try to force the issue.
And he's running. It's a hit and run play. Tejada misses it, then Ramos double clutches, and Granderson steals the base. So the Mets get a break there as Ramos, for some reason, did not throw the ball initially, and Granderson picks up his 8th steal.
Did he double clutch because he didn't have a handle, or did he double clutch because he didn't think Espinosa was there? I think he thought Espinosa was late. That's why he double clutched. You should never do that. Just throw it, and it's their job to get there. He had a grip on it.
Well, Terry was playing hit and run with Tejada, who had a hit and run base hit in St. Louis on Sunday. That time missed it, but Mets get the stolen base anyway. So a runner in scoring position with nobody out. Ross ahead 1-2 on Tejada. And Ruben takes the slider outside.
Here's a steal again, seeing from on top. Watch Ramos get the ball. What you have to do if you're the infielder, you kind of try to hold your position as long as you can in case Tejada hits it that way, but Espinosa was there in plenty of time.
Yeah, I don't know what caused Ramos to double clutch, but the Mets will take it. 2-2 to Tejada with Murphy on deck. And Ruben takes up and away and works the count full.
For you kids out there, if you're an infielder on a hit and run, you want to take 2 steps in from your position, then go cover the base, because you want to be able to cover in case Tejada put the ball in play.
Ross has pitched 23 big league innings. He's walked only 2 batters. He's run his first 3-ball count of this game. 3-2 to Tejada. And he bounces one foul.
3-2 slider from the youngster.
Well, clearly has a lot of confidence in that pitch. It's a Ross family tradition.
It is. Good pitch. If you're the Mets, you've got to do all these little things right. Situational hit, can't strike out, got to put the ball in play, try to put it on the right side. You want a base hit. If not, get Granderson over.
And Tejada trying to go that way and fouls it off.
It's almost like a light bulb's gone off for Tejada once he's moved back to shortstop. Although I don't know what the color of those gloves are, but they don't really go with the orange and blue, do they, Gary?
The neon green, you mean? I think that's a brand preference.
Oh, okay.
Desmond trying to fake Granderson back to the bag. And Tejada fouls off another one. So a marathon at bat here for Tejada, trying to get that runner over at least. Ruben Tejada in that longest current hit streak. Not exactly any DiMaggio's there, but he has snuck into the top 5. I think Tulowitzki's got a 41-game on base streak.
Yeah.
He's trying to chase down Michael Kadyr's club record for Colorado, 46. Ninth pitch of the at-bat, and Tejada hits one toward the middle. Granderson trying to advance. Desmond lets him go and gets the shore out. Boy, a dicey decision by Desmond. It looked like he had a play on Granderson, but opted to throw to first.
Well, Granderson moved. He had him. The only way I can think of at Desmond not taking a chance is let's see if he's in line with the runner. See the runner? That's a difficult throw because you have to throw that almost over the shoulder of Granderson to get the ball to the third baseman. So I think just because he was in his throwing line, he decided to take the out at first.
Do you think the fact that Desmond's made 21 errors this year causes him to be a little bit more cautious?
Conservative. Yes, I would agree.
Infield in for Murphy. Scoreless game, 4th inning. Granderson at third, 1 out, and Murphy takes a strike on the inside.
But nice aggressive base running by Curtis. You always hear you do not go if the ball's hit to the shortstop, but it wasn't hit hard. So if it's not hit hard, you can take a chance. The secondary lead provided him with getting the third.
Murphy grounded out in the hole, and Desmond threw him out in the first inning. And Murph takes inside, 1-1.
I'd rather this Mets offensive team take chances, push the envelope, try to do something instead of trying to go base to base, because I'll tell you that's not working.
Such a dicey thing because they just don't have that much team speed. Well, I agree with you. Got to push the envelope. Murphy fouls it off at the plate, and it's 1-2. Murphy's 7 for 10 this year, getting a runner in from third and less than 2 out. And for this Mets team, they have got to take advantage of these situations where you can score a run without a base hit, because those base hits in these RBI spots have been so difficult to come by.
Well, you just saw a fastball in. The combination for Ross has been fastball into the lefties and then that slider down on that back foot in the dirt, although shaking off Ramos here.
1-2. Struck him out. Big strikeout for Joe Ross as he fans Murphy for the second out.
It's just the combination always works. You pitch that fastball in, you get the hitter aware of that, and then you pull the string with the slider in the same spot. Nice pitching by the youngster.
Mets over their last 10 games now are 4 for their last 74. 4 for their last 74 with runners in scoring position. Duda will try and break that up with 2 out and Granderson at third. 3 infielders on the right side. And Lucas grounded into that shift his first time up. They keep the third baseman Escobar home just so Duda doesn't think about dropping down a bunt to try and get the run in.
But unlike yesterday, when Duda got a hit, pinch hitting right up the middle, they've got a guy up the middle now.
2-0 now to Lucas. Joe Ross made 3 starts for the Nats in June. His last one was June the 19th. He's been in the minor leagues since. Called back up to make this start. And so far, so good.
2-0 slider.
And he hits him with a pitch. Duda's hit for the 12th time this year. Only Anthony Rizzo's been hit more. And now the Mets have runners at the corners with 2 out.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Lucas Duda will not be wearing any shorts this summer. He's been hit in that same spot, lower leg, right in that like quad area, hamstring area.
He's the Wally Whitehurst of the hitters.
That's right.
Wally used to get hit in the legs all the time.
That's right.
He'd have seams up and down his legs.
Couldn't feel, couldn't move.
First and third and 2 out. Here's Flores, who popped up to the second baseman his first time up. And the first pitch slider has him fishing. 0-1.
His numbers are astronomically good against the right-handed hitters. Throws across his body like we talked about before, and that slider is just breaks all the way across the plate.
Coming into the night in his first 3 starts, Ross was holding right-hand hitters to a 157 average. The lefties, on the other hand, 407. That's only hit has come from a left-hand batter, Granderson.
That's why I called that 2-0 slider. I knew he wasn't going to go right after Duda.
One and 1 to Flores with Neuenhuis on deck. And Wilmer shoots one toward the middle, base hit, and the Mets have the early lead. Granderson comes in to score. Wilmer Flores drives in the first run of the night, and the Mets take a 1-0 lead in the 4th. There's the 2-out hit the Mets have been lacking. 39th RBI for Wilmer Flores.
Just outstanding hitting. Watch the defense. You have Espinosa up the middle, but it doesn't matter. Just like the Granderson hit, ball hit right on the nose. Ross tried to come inside on Wilmer and left that ball right over the middle.
So the Mets able to squeeze out a run, a single, a stolen base, a ground out, and a 2-out hit by Flores. And now DeGrom's got his run. Kirk Neuenhuis will try and add to it. Hit a deep fly ball to center field his first time up. And he takes a slider for a strike. Duda now at second. Flores at first with 2 down.
Gives Wilmer the lead, team lead, right? An RBI.
1 ahead of Duda with his 39. Neuenhuis checks the swing and stopped it in time. Mike Winters with the call at third. 1-1.
I know it was unlikely what Neuenhuis would be the guy at home to hit 3 home runs. What the Angels were thinking when they saw that game unfold.
Well, they've had enough home runs.
Yes, they have.
Between Pujols and Trout.
They have such a good ball club that they're playing a game tonight. Pujols and Trout are not in the lineup. That's how good they're going.
Swept a doubleheader from the Red Sox yesterday. The Angels won 15 of their last 18 to take a 2-game lead on Houston.
Right after the manager winning the dust-up with the general manager.
It's funny how that works. Huh? 1-2 to the former Angel. In the outfield. 2-2. Well, there you see the home run leaders in the American League, and Angels in the top 2 spots. Pujols with his 3 in the doubleheader yesterday, now with 549, past Mike Schmidt for 15th place all time. He's getting into some rather lofty territory, and you know, a guy who a couple of years ago looked like he was done, and he is very much not done.
It's almost like he's decided, okay, I can't hit 330 every year anymore, but I can still hit the ball at the ballpark.
2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to Neuenhuis, and he lines one to short, caught by Desmond to end the inning. But the Mets get themselves a run, a 2-out hit for Flores, and now Jacob deGrom with a 1-0 lead in the 4th. The hard iced tea that tastes like real iced tea. Did you know that former Met Todd Zeile is a direct descendant of John Adams and John Quincy Adams, the 2nd and 6th presidents of the United States? It's a Washington, D.C. kind of a twisted but true.
Is that true? Come on.
Well, I don't know. We'd have to check some genealogy websites.
I got to get on to.
Taylor gets the bunt down, but deGrom, like a cat off the mound, throws him out for the first out of the inning.
Who's doing these scouting reports anyways? He cannot bunt on deGrom. He's too fast. You can make an argument he's one of the best infielders that the Mets have. He's a pitcher.
He's got a real chance to win a Gold Glove
these
days. Who's the defending Gold Glove pitcher in the National League?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Cueto?
I don't know. We're going to have to check that out. That's not one of those top of the head things. Here's Danny Espinosa, and he pops one up in foul ground. Duda coming to the railing, and not quite enough room to get to it. Zach Greinke.
I saw Zach Greinke make a play here on Sunday where he was running even on a bunt with Espinosa up the first base line, and he beat him by 10 feet. Wasn't even close. He's faster than Espinosa.
Who's the best you ever saw? Pitcher. Because you were great.
Well, yeah.
Who's the best you ever saw?
Best I ever saw. And I don't include Maddox, which is crazy because I know he's won all those Gold Gloves.
Jim Cott won tons of Gold Gloves.
Cotty, I didn't watch him, Jimmy pitch enough. The little lefty that you guys had for a year was really good.
See, to me, the thing about Maddox and Cott is they were both in perfect position all the time, and they were fundamentally great. Hampton, though, was the most spectacular fielding pitcher I've ever seen. He would go sliding after balls toward the third baseline and make great plays like that. Plawecki coming back for a look, but that's in the crowd.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching Hampton. Now, the best fielding pitcher I ever saw was in the minor leagues. His name was Jack Lazorko. I think he's a scout for the Texas Rangers now.
Yeah.
He was a goaltender as a kid, and that's exactly how he fielded. When the ball went up the middle, he'd kick save it, he'd block it, he would make sure he'd cover up the 5-hole. He would always end up on his hands and knees, dirty as a pitcher. He was a relief pitcher for the Tulsa Drillers when I first started.
So he was like Mark Fidrich, but it wasn't that he was smoothing the dirt. He was just getting down in the dirt. Good changeup by DeGrom to strike out Espinosa for his 4th strikeout of the night.
Well, he's got it all working tonight. He's got the change, the breaking ball, the fastball. The one thing that DeGrom does better than any other Mets pitcher, and they all have their great strengths, he can pitch around the entire rectangle of the strike zone with his fastball. Away and down, up and away, up and in.
DeGrom and Harper had a terrific battle first time around. 10 pitches before Harper just missed one and fly to right. And he takes a knee-high strike with a curveball. It's a big batter here for DeGrom. Yeah. Just stake to the lead. Harper is just getting great swings almost every at bat.
No one's on, so you're going to go after him. Shutdown inning where you want to get your team back in there feeling good about a lead, and the best player in the National League right now.
1-1 from DeGrom, and Harper takes the fastball, just missed, 2-1.
McClinsky's not giving him that pitch down, so he's going to have to move it up just a little bit to get a call.
We've seen so many umpires who are low ball umpires this year. Greg Gibson Sunday, especially in St. Louis, big time low ball umpire. Well, Harper has to snap back. 3-1.
Dare I say, Harvey yesterday almost looked like he was pitching around Harvey, making sure that each pitch was perfect or off the plate. DeGrom doing a little bit of that here.
His 4th 3-ball count of the night. And Harper swings through the slider. 3-1.
Yes, there's 2 sliders. The one that he'll throw for a strike on the outside, and this is more like a late cutter.
3-2 now to Harper. So they're not giving in to him. He wasn't throwing him a cookie on 3-1.
3-2 curveball by Plawecki. Fastball away. Throw it as hard as you can.
Toward the middle of the diamond. That's where Tejada's playing. And he guns down Harper to end the inning. So DeGrom with a shutdown inning after his team gives him the lead. 1-0 after 4.
John DeMarsico, thank you so much. Jack Lazorko will love that he's on our broadcast. He was a great teammate. Like I said, the best fielding pitcher I ever played with.
Born in Hoboken.
There you go.
Played for 4 different major league teams: Milwaukee, Seattle, Detroit, and the California Angels. Here's Kevin Plawecki leading off in the 5th inning. And he bounces a high chopper to short. Desmond with a strong throw right on target. 1 pitch and 1 out for Joe Ross in the 5th.
Well, there's a stat for everything, but there are stats for who has the strongest arm, or not strongest arm, who throws the ball the fastest to first base, and it's Mr. Desmond, who averages around 75 miles an hour when he throws that ball over to first.
He might be the fastest now, but he's no Sean Dunston.
No Sean Dunston, and no Andrelton Simmons when he wants to throw it over there with the Braves.
Well, how about Troy Tulowitzki when he first came up?
That's right.
He threw about as hard as anybody. DeGrom hit a foul fly ball, and Dendecker made a nice play against the sidewall to reel it in the 3rd. Of course, this is the first game DeGrom is pitching since the All-Star game. Not the first game he's playing in since the All-Star game. He got the pinch hit on Sunday after that odd move by Mike Matheny to walk the go-ahead run into scoring position, and DeGrom himself drew a walk. The only one he's drawn this year, 2nd of his career. Generally up there hacking.
Yeah, no, he's swinging. Got that little pad on that right elbow to protect that valuable arm.
0-2 from Ross, and he finds the inside corner for strike 3. 3rd strikeout for Joe Ross. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Juan Lagares, who grounded out his first time up. You mentioned the Mets record against the Nationals since Terry Collins has been manager.
Yeah.
26-56. The 56 losses matches the most for any Mets manager against one team. Bobby Valentine had 56 losses against the Braves.
Okay.
Casey Stengel had 56 losses against the Dodgers. That one shot right underneath Robinson and into right field. And Lagares has a base hit. So a 2-out single for Lagares. Now, in Casey's case against the Dodgers, 56 losses against the Dodgers, 10 wins.
Oh, boy. Well, good hitting by Lagares, who had 2 last night under the glove of Escobar 3rd and 1 to the right side. So he's starting to use that right field much better. Wasn't it in Los Angeles that you and I were given the numbers at midnight about Koufax and Drysdale?
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They were facing Koufax and Drysdale in half the games because they had a 4-man rotation at the time. Granderson takes the low and away. Curtis scored the only run of this game. Singled, stole second, came in on Flores' 2-out hit. Joe Ross has not given up a home run in the major leagues. Granderson takes an off-speed pitch for a strike, 1-1.
That's interesting. His fastball's 92 to 94. That off-speed pitcher you just saw, 88. Not much of a difference between the two.
Well, he's certainly shown tonight he's mostly a fastball slider guy, but now 3rd time around the batting order and maybe unveiling a little wrinkle. His last start against the Pirates back in June, he struck out 11. He's already had some dominant big league games. Still hasn't walked a batter tonight, so in his big league career he's now walked 2 and struck out 26 over 25 innings.
These young guys are just so accomplished with throwing the ball over the strike zone.
One and 2 to Granderson. And Curtis goes down swinging to end the inning. 4th strikeout for Joe Ross. We're halfway through in our nation's capital. It's a beautiful day for lounging on the mall. 1-0 New York. It's just one base runner, a 2-out single by Ian Desmond. He was caught stealing. Yunel Escobar hitting cleanup will lead off in the home fifth against DeGrom. And he drills one down the left field line, and he's got himself an extra base hit. Escobar stands at second base with a leadoff double. His 15th double of the year, just the second hit of the night for the Nationals.
Well, the only bad breaking pitch that DeGrom has thrown, just a hanging slider that stayed on the inside part, and Escobar took advantage of it. Neuenhuis wanted to get to this quick to maybe have a play at second, but Escobar was way too fast.
So the tying run in scoring position with nobody out. First time the Nats have had a runner as far as second base tonight. And Clint Robinson, the batter. Robinson flied out to right field his first time up. That is only the 8th extra base hit DeGrom has given up in his last 11 starts. He jams Robinson and he fouls it off. Think about that. I mean, 11 starts, 8 extra base hits. Early in the season, he was giving up some home runs, but his season turned after that start in Chicago, where he got lit up by the Cubs.
And he looked frustrated and a little embarrassed, and he went to work, and he found his arm slot.
He worked on his stride, he worked on his take back, and everything seemed to click after that.
Well, that's really what it was, is that he was overstriding a little bit. He never was getting his arm in front. Jacob deGrom is one of those few pitchers that he throws the ball almost in front of his head. So there's the smaller distance between him and the hitter.
Robinson rolls one to the right side. That'll advance the runner. Duda makes the play to DeGrom, and Escobar over to third. So a productive out by Clint Robinson.
That was an interesting choice by a pitch by DeGrom. He tried to go with a slider. You can see him frustrated because he wanted to bounce it to get the strikeout, but he left it up enough. And anytime you throw a slider, if it's going to be hit, it's going to be pulled. And that's why Robinson was able to get Escobar over.
So the Mets, with a 1-0 lead, will bring the infield in against Ian Desmond, who had the first hit against DeGrom. Ground ball single in the second. Desmond, who has had such a dreadful year, is now 3 for 5 in this series. And he fouls one off Plawecki and back, 0-1.
Plawecki looks like he's got a little extra padding down where his chin is. This one, though, hit him right in the right eye area of that mask. See Plawecki line up and sit inside early. Never wanted my catcher to sit inside early, that early. You know why? Hitter can feel him. And what pitch are you going to throw inside? Only one, a fastball.
Unless you make a mistake. That fastball misses inside, 2-1. Escobar with average speed at third, 1 out. Figure he'll be running on contact. Now he finds the inside corner and gets even on Desmond, 2-2.
Boy, that was a big call there by home plate umpire Mike McClinsky. 3 fastballs in, and finally this one catches the corner at the belt.
DeGrom needs a strikeout. He's fan 4 tonight. Struck him out. It's not how many you strike out. It's when you get the strikeout when you really need it.
You know, when you're pitching for the Mets right now, you've got to feel as though you're going to have to win this game 1-0. Now, it could change, but as a pitcher out there, and I know that Plawecki and DeGrom are thinking that way, is that you've got to keep that runner from third from scoring.
So Wilson Ramos will come up with 2 out, and Escobar still at third. Ramos flied to right his first time up. How many big hits has this guy had?
Yes, he has.
Against the Mets. 2 for 7 against DeGrom. And Ramos shoots one foul, 0-1.
The Mets were lucky because they didn't have to face him last night as Lobaton caught instead of Ramos.
I don't know if Ramos could have made that play Lobaton
made
back at the backstop against Mayberry. It was extraordinary.
Is the change-up grip that he starts with, and it will change in the glove depending on what pitch he's going to throw.
Lifted to right, pretty well hit. Granderson back to the warning track, looking off, and it's out of here. Wilson Ramos with an opposite field two-run homer. And the Nationals catcher strikes the Mets again. Ramos with his 9th home run of the year, and Washington goes in front 2-1.
Well, you don't see it happen very often with DeGrom. 2 mistakes in this inning. The hanging slider to Escobar to start the inning, and a fastball. I wouldn't even say that's a mistake. That ball was on the corner. It was up a little bit, and just great hitting by Ramos. I mean, you never, as a pitcher, expect that pitch to be hit out of the ballpark.
Well, he hasn't had the number of at-bats that Chase Utley or Chipper Jones has had, but he has had tremendous success, especially in big spots against the Mets. And Ramos going opposite field, snapped an 0 for 13 slump. There are his career numbers against the Mets in just 45 games, and he has blistered a Met pitcher again. 1-1 to Dendecker, and that's off the plate.
You know, Gary, I remember Gary Carter used to do something when you had a big out to make with 1 out and a runner on third, and you would get it, you'd get the strikeout. He would always run out and say, hey, listen, we haven't done anything so far. We got 1 more to go. Bear down. And it was always a great reminder, because sometimes you get so pumped up when you get that second out, you think you're going to get out of it, and still got to get the third one.
9th home run DeGrom's allowed this year. Full count to Dendecker. And DeGrom threw 8 scoreless against the Giants. His last start, he had that historic inning in the All-Star game. Held the Nats scoreless for the first 4 today, and finally a blemish. 3-2. Struck him out, got him with a curveball. 6 strikeouts for DeGrom, but Wilson Ramos's 2-run homer puts the Washington Nationals in front 2-1 after 5. His RBI single gave the Mets the lead in the 4th. Jacob deGrom gave up a 2-run homer to Wilson Ramos in the 5th. And now we start the 6th. deGrom stewing about that home run and hoping the Mets can get the runs back for him. Ruben Tejada leads off against Joe Ross in the 6th. Tejada 0 for 2 tonight. He's grounded out twice. Murphy and Duda to follow against Ross, who's looking for his 3rd win in just his 4th major league start. One and two to Tejada. Now the 1-2 in the air to right, and Harper's right there. One away. Let's check in with the studio. Doug Williams has a game break brought to you by Honda. Justin Turner and Yasiel Puig with home runs for the Dodgers in that game. There's Murphy, who's 0 for 2, grounded out and struck out.
Brett Anderson's been pretty brittle the last 2-3 years of his career.
Well, that could affect the Dodgers rotation for the series coming up next weekend.
Yeah, he was pitching. He would pitch Sunday against. He was going to pitch Sunday against Jacob deGrom.
Espinosa throws out Murphy for the 2nd out. Well, we got a special treat for you, Ronnie.
Okay.
You mentioned Jack Lazorko.
Best fielding pitcher I ever saw.
Very down in the dirt kind of pitcher. Well, we found video.
This is unbelievable. Thank you, guys. But watch. Now you know what I'm talking about. I'm not making it up. You'll see his uniform. Dirty? He was always dirty. I told you he was a goalie before. He just had great reactions.
Wait, I think we have one more.
And then the one we'll show, if we do show it. Watch this. Glove save and a beauty.
Fantastic. It looked like Lundqvist.
But he almost threw the ball past first. But watch this. This would happen every game.
That's fantastic. Our guys in the truck are the best.
The Hoboken kid will be happy.
I don't know where they came up with that stuff, but that is fantastic. Jack Lazorko. Gold Glove material. Duda hits it in the air to center field. Taylor should have plenty of room. And that retires the side. So a shutdown inning for Joe Ross. He sets the Mets down 1-2-3 on just 9 pitches. There's the acrobatic Jack Lazorko. Glove save and a beauty. Home 6th inning. Joe Ross leads off for the Nationals. Ross struck out in his only at bat against Jacob deGrom, who's fan 6, but gave up a 2-run homer to Wilson Ramos in the 5th that has Washington in front.
And Ross hasn't thrown a lot of pitches, so he's going to go deeper into this game.
Only 77 pitches through 6 innings for Ross. He chases that fastball and strikes out for the 2nd time. 7 strikeouts now for deGrom. Let's check out our Data Strong fan of the game. It's a nice pose.
Nice.
With Jake. Thank you, Amanda.
Some good pictures. We have Kara last night, young Kara.
Taylor again tries to bunt his way on. It didn't work the last time, and he fouls it off this time. Last time he bunted it back to deGrom, who made the play, which prompted the Jack Lazorko conversation.
That's right.
Jack has become a folk hero.
I hope he hears about it at some point. I'm sure his family in Hoboken will let him know. Someone's got to be watching the Mets game there.
0-2 to Taylor. Michael Taylor, just 24 years old. Got great physical skills. There's a good curveball by deGrom to strike out Taylor. So 3 consecutive strikeouts for Jacob after the home run. He's got 8 for the night.
Well, there's a reason why he's probably trying to bunt, because right now he's just overmatched by deGrom. Michael Taylor, like you said, Garrett, tremendous athlete who's kind of learning on the fly how to hit, but he's done a nice job defensively for him.
Certainly saw that last night with the ball he rained down on the warning track against Eric Campbell that saved 2 runs. Campbell said after the game, he said, I thought I had a triple. And with some center fielders, he might have. Espinosa pops one up into shallow left. Neuenhuis can't see it, and now he finds it. And that retires the side. Had trouble in the twilight, but recovered to make the play. 7-pitch inning for deGrom after 6, 2-1 Nats.
Who's the first player on the Mets that was younger than the franchise itself?
Wow. Okay.
The first, though.
Wilmer Flores takes a strike. Okay, so
the youngest was Crane, but he was there too early.
Right. So 1962. So it had to be sometime in the 80s.
Yeah.
Right, because nobody's ever played, I think, younger than, well, other than Crane. I don't think they've had another 18-year-old. There's a base hit for Flores to start the 7th inning. So Wilmer drove in the Mets run in the 4th. Gets aboard to lead off the 7th against Joe Ross, and there's some stirring around quickly in that Nats bullpen as Kirk Neuenhuis comes up.
I've got a guess, but it's not the obvious guess, because I think they were both the same age, but this young man came up before the other young man.
See, the guy I'm thinking of is Jose Oquendo.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Because Oquendo was 19 when he came up, and that was 82. So the franchise was 20, he was 19?
I think it was 83 he came up.
Okay, so either way.
Yeah.
Neuenhuis is fly to center and line to short. They're looking for a bunt, but he's not bunting. Third baseman Escobar playing way in at third. And there you go. Okay.
I know some of you folks have heard this out there, but worst thing I've ever seen happen to a ball player happened to Jose Oquendo in 1983. Home game. He was batting 8th in the lineup, and he came up with the bases loaded with 2 outs in the first, and Frank Howard pinch hit for him with Rusty.
In the first inning?
In the first inning. He was trying to keep that job.
It wasn't like the middle of a pennant race, was it?
It was September when we were eating crow. We're as bad could be.
That's terrible.
I'll never forget. He came on the bench. He sat down next to me, and he had, like, you know, a little bit of a tear in his eye. And I've never seen anything like that happen before or after. Just awful. I think Rusty made an out, too, which was very rare that year.
Didn't Rusty have 8 straight pinch hits?
It was unbelievable.
1-2 to Neuenhuis. It's bounced foul. If I recall from Rusty's telling, he got hondoed as well, that he had the streak intact, and he brought Rusty in to face some very tough left-hander who Rusty always had trouble with when he could have, like, set the major league record for consecutive pinch hits.
That's right.
I think it was Ramon Hernandez.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. 1-2 to Neuenhuis. You saw Felipe Rivero up in the Nats bullpen. Henry Mejia up in the Mets bullpen. 1-2 coming. Neuenhuis bounces it down to first. That skips on by. It's a fair ball going down the line. On his way to third is Flores as Harper plays the carom, and the Mets have runners at second and third. Robinson holding the runner, and the ball got just under his glove, just fair. Mark Wegner, the first base umpire, on top of the play. Matt Williams is going to come out. He can't challenge this call because it was in front of the umpire as to fair or foul.
Well, he can't challenge it because it's before the base. Boy, that ball looks foul to me. It looked foul from up here because his glove looked like it was in foul territory. I think that Clinton Robinson, in my opinion, kind of just non-played that because he thought it was foul. But you have to make the play and let the umpire call it.
What Matt could be arguing about is jurisdiction here, because the play was in front of the bag, so technically that is the home plate umpire's call.
Yes.
The question is, if Robinson didn't touch it, then it becomes the first base umpire's call. I'm not sure if he touched it at all. Anyway, it's an error on Robinson, and the Mets get a huge break. Second and third and nobody out, and Kevin Plawecki up, and the Nats are going to bring the infield in. This is a little shocking. And Plawecki swings and misses, 0-1.
Wow, it is. We talked about the defense of the Nats, how great it was last night. A misplay there by Mr. Robinson at first base.
You've got the tying run at third, the go-ahead run at second. By bringing the infield in, you better the Mets' chances of getting one past the infield and bringing in the go-ahead run. And Plawecki fights one off, and it's 0-2.
I could almost see this if you got the 2 strikes and you know that the hitter is in a vulnerable position. But I certainly, with a 1-run lead, would have my infielders back and get the out and try to get Ross out of the inning that way.
Flores at third, Neuenhuis at second. Plawecki is struck out and grounded out. He's got to put the ball in play here. 0-2 from Joe Ross. And Plawecki loops one behind the drawn-in infield. Back goes Desmond over the shoulder to make the catch away from Espinosa. And Espinosa wound up with the baseball.
Espinosa not only caught that ball, he shoved Desmond to the ground like a redheaded stepchild. Just like he runs out there, grabs it, and watch what he does to Desmond. Just pushes him out of the way.
So Desmond ends up making the catch. And the Nats almost got burned by the drawn-in infield, but not quite. That's the first out of the inning. Eric Campbell has been announced as a pinch hitter for Jacob deGrom, and Matt Williams is going to make a pitching change. So deGrom is out of the game. Not going to be allowed to bat for himself in this spot with second and third and one out, and Ross is out of the game as well. So the Mets down 2-1. Runners at second and third. Campbell set to pinch hit. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. We'll be right back. In 82 pitches, down 2-1. Mets have two in scoring position, and rather than let deGrom bat for himself, Campbell will be brought in, and Aaron Barrett brought in to face him.
And Barrett, nasty against left-handed hitters or right-handed hitters. Good curveball.
And Campbell takes a slider for a strike. Campbell hit two balls hard last night with no luck, lining out to Escobar at a diving stop at third and hit one to the warning track in right center that Taylor ran down. Then he got a blue pit his last time up to sort of even things out. Flores at third, Neuenhuis at second and one out, and again Matt Williams has the infield in. Tempting fate. And Campbell pokes one the other way for a base hit. Flores is in. Neuenhuis being waved home. Harper's throw to the plate is offline. Down to second base goes Campbell, and the Mets have the lead 3-2. Eric Campbell, his first pinch hit of the season, comes in and drives home the tying and go-ahead runs.
Well, Gary, you mentioned that he took two good at-bats last night, robbed by Michael Taylor to right center, now going to the right side again. And good job there by third base coach Tim Teufel. Even with the great arm of Harper, so hard to score runs now for the Mets. You got to send everybody. Take a chance.
So the Mets cash in the error by Clint Robinson. Two-run single for Campbell. He takes second on the throw. And now Juan Lagares, the batter. Lagares 1 for 2, and he takes a fastball strike from Barrett. Well, Met pinch hitters came into that at bat hitting 168 for the season. Campbell was 0 for 7. That is a huge hit for Eric Campbell on the Mets.
I mean, the only other way it could have gone is with Danny Muno. He's 0 for 15 as a pinch hitter.
You know, the only left-hand pinch hitter on the bench tonight. There's the good breaking ball by Barrett, and it's 0-2 to Lagares. Well, Jacob deGrom is now pitcher of record on the long side. Now the Mets are going to have to cobble together 9 outs to protect the lead for him.
Ross and deGrom switch places right there on that base hit.
That's right. One of the runs against Ross unearned. Nonetheless, he's now on the short side of this 3-2 score. Book is closed on Ross. 6 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, no walks, 4 strikeouts. Felipe Rivero, the left-hander, up with Granderson on deck. Campbell dancing off second, and Lagares takes inside 1-2. One two from Barrett. Hit to the shortstop. Desmond makes the play. 2 out. Tuesday Night Baseball on SNY is brought to you by Verizon. Don't miss a moment of Mets baseball on the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network, only from Verizon. Well, Matt Williams is on his way to the mound. Granderson's coming up. They could have walked Granderson and left the right-hander in to face Tejada, but it looks like he wants to bring in the lefty Rivero to face Granderson instead. So Barrett exits. Mets have taken the lead here in the 7th. We'll be right back to Nationals Park. Trade news and rumors, plus a complete breakdown of tonight's Mets-Nats game on Mets Blog, presented by Citi, part of the SNY.TV blog network. Rookie left-hander Felipe Rivero in to face Curtis Granderson with a runner at second and 2 out. And Curtis takes a knee-high strike.
Well, I got to see Rivero pitch on Sunday. He's got great stuff. Throws hard, good breaking ball. See his numbers so far. Right-handed hitters are wearing him out. Great against the lefties.
24 years old, first signed with Tampa Bay. And there's his slider. Gets him ahead on Granderson. 0-2.
If you're left-handed and you've got a good slider, you can pitch in this league forever.
Came over in the trade from Tampa Bay that sent Nate Carnes to the Rays. He's been a big part of their rotation this year. Campbell at second and 2 out. And Granderson takes strike 3 call. Got him looking at a fastball. So Rivero comes in and gets the 3rd out, but the Mets regain the lead. Eric Campbell pinch hitting. Drives one to right. Brings in the tying and go-ahead runs. And the Mets lead 3-2. 7th inning stretch in D.C. The State Farm agent of the game is John Garfinkel of Brooklyn. Contact John at johngarfinkel.com. By Good Humor, proud partner of the New York Mets. Jesse S. Keith. And by Wise Snacks. Go to windupandwin.com now for your chance to win Wise Snacks Mets experiences and other amazing prizes. Get to Citi Field this Saturday night. The Mets play the Dodgers and stay after the game for a special post-game concert featuring Heart. The post-game concert is included in the price of your ticket, and it's all presented by Pepsi. Purchase tickets online at Mets.com/concerts. Both starters are out of the game. Their numbers brought to you by People's United Bank. Jacob deGrom now in line for the win. Should be only 2 earned runs against Joe Ross, the result of the Clint Robinson error that helped the Mets to 2 runs in that top of the 7th inning. Now the Mets bullpen will try and protect it for deGrom and get him his 10th win of the year. Henry Mejia, first man out.
Gary, I usually don't do this. You can see the numbers so far, but you've seen Henry pitch so far. How does he look?
I think with each outing, he's had a little more velocity on his fastball, and he's been able to mix in all 3 of his pitches, which is, which kind of makes him unique as a relief pitcher. The fact that he is able to go to an expanded repertoire out of the bullpen. It's
almost like he brings his starting repertoire out as a reliever.
He pitched 2 innings in the long game on Sunday, allowed no runs and 1 hit, pitching the 11th and 12th, or the 10th and 11th, excuse me. He got himself out of a big-time jam in that inning. Gave up a leadoff double to Randall Grichuk, but he got Yadier Molina to grind into a double play to get him through the 11th inning.
I was just so impressed by that bat by Campbell. You're going to face a tough breaking ball from Barrett. He went up there with a plan to hit the ball to right field, and he accomplished it. Having a plan is half the battle offensively. Good at bat.
First man will be the toughest man for Mejia. He'll take on Bryce Harper, whom he's had success against in the past. Harper 0 for 4 in his career against Mejia. And tonight, Harper was neutralized by deGrom. Fly to right, grounded to short. 3-2 New York as we start the bottom of the 7th. Harper, Escobar, and Robinson up against Mejia. So the move by Terry Collins pays off. He bats for deGrom, who was only at 82 pitches and certainly could have taken that turn at bat, especially against a right-hand pitcher.
Especially with the infield in.
Yep, but he decided to go with Campbell, and it turned out to be the right move.
Good for him. It's interesting to me, Gary. One, Harper is an outstanding breaking ball pitcher, and he's going to see a lot from Mejia. This is where you needed Jerry Blevins. Jerry Blevins would face Harper, Escobar, and then Robinson. He would pitch this inning.
Well, we saw that right? Early in the season
right.
When the Mets played the Nats. Blevins was a difference maker in these situational spots against left-hand hitters. Grounded down to first, and Duda will take it himself. I was about to say, though, Mejia has, because of his off-speed stuff, always been effective against left-hand hitters, and I guess with the Mets lacking a situational lefty, Mejia becomes that guy.
Well, he's a crossover guy because he was a starting pitcher, and when you're a starting pitcher, you got to get 18 to 21 outs plus, and that means you got to get left-handed hitters out.
Well, he just got out a huge one. Harper may or may not get another turn at bat in this game. Yunel Escobar doubled and scored the first Nationals run in the 5th. Well, Terry's got everybody available in that bullpen tonight. He's only 1 reliever yesterday after the long game Sunday, so he's got it set up the way he wants it. Hit up the middle. Flores behind the bag. A long throw to make. And he gets it there in time to get Escobar. Mets with good defensive positioning there. A ball hit sharply up the middle, and Flores makes the play.
Well, he was shaded up the middle, but what I find interesting about Wilmer is that at shortstop, the balls to his backhand were a little bit of an issue. And as a second baseman, they're not. And it must be because of the shorter throw.
I just think he has so much more confidence not having to worry about the throw being too long for him.
He tends from the second base position also. You notice throws more overhand than he did at shortstop. The ball does not run as much.
That's counterintuitive because so many second basemen throw sidearm.
But what happens to him, especially in the backhand, is when he turns, his shoulders close. When your shoulders close that much, you tend to get on top of the ball.
Clint Robinson is 0 for 2 today. And the Mets put on the full shift against him. Leave Murphy alone on the left side of the infield.
That's nasty by Mejia. Late break. It's almost like Mejia has just different variations of how the ball's going to cut. It's going to cut in on the left-hander, or sometimes he'll turn it over a little more and get more of a curveball action.
Bounces that change up, and it's 2-2. I was going to say, with the entire bullpen available tonight, Terry's got it set up exactly the way he wants it. Right now that means Mejia in the 7th, Parnell in the 8th, and Familia in the 9th. And right after that last pitch, Murphy and Tejada switched spots. Tejada moved over to the left side of the infield, and Murphy moved out into shallow right field. And Robinson pulls it foul. That was interesting.
Well, I think what is happening is that before there's 2 strikes, Robinson's more apt to pull, although he did pull that pitch there. And you want your best fielder on the biggest part of the field that's left open, and Tejada certainly is the best.
I guess there are 2 ways of looking at that. If you think he's going to pull the ball, you certainly want your best fielder on the pull side. That's hit into the shift and right by Duda and into right field. So Robinson defies the shift and gets himself a base hit.
I don't know if Lucas did not pick up the ball off the bat, but he moved very late on this ball. You know what? See it? He moved a little to his left side before he went right, and that was cost him the play. When you get in your ready position, you young folks at home, you want both of the pressure on the balls of your feet to be even. You don't want to be leaning one way or the other, because it's going to put you out of position.
So now Ian Desmond with the tying run at first and 2 out. Desmond has singled and struck out tonight. 1 for 2. Robinson no threat to run. Big lumbering slugger. Desmond 2 for 8 in his career against Mejia. And Henry misses up and away for ball 1. He's not really throwing his fastball tonight.
He's not.
This is his 4th outing since coming back from suspension. And there's a fastball that misses, and now he's behind Desmond 2-0.
But with the extra base power that Desmond has, now he hasn't shown it this year. He's had a tough year. Might be thinking about running for Clint Robinson. Ugla could play first. He's got enough people.
They have Manny Burris on the bench who can pinch run. Good breaking ball by Mejia on 2-0.
He would just hate with 2 outs if Desmond were to hit a double and you're not able to score. But he won't be on pitches like that.
And the Mets are playing very deep in the outfield, playing no doubles. New and Ice backed up almost to the Capitol. 2-1 coming, and Desmond flailing at another slider, and it's 2-2.
Well, when Mejia follows through, it takes his whole body to first base, and it takes that pitch from the middle of the plate to the outside part of the plate.
He was exciting as the Mets closer last year, now settling into a subsidiary role after making a big mistake and being suspended for 80 games. And he strikes out Desmond to end the inning. Here's a good fastball from Mejia. So Henry works through the 7th, keeps the Mets in the lead, 3-2. 1-0. Trailed 2-1 when it had 3-2 on Eric Campbell's 2-run pinch hit single in the top of the 7th. Henry Mejia hanging on to that lead as you look at your Wise Mets box score. Wilmer Flores drove in the first Met run and scored a run of his own. Mets have managed 5 hits tonight, and they have a 3-2 lead as we start the 8th. Tejada, Murphy, and Duda to bat against Felipe Rivero, who came on to get the final out in the 7th, striking out Granderson. And Tejada fouls one away. Ruben 0 for 3 tonight, grounded out twice, then flied to right his last time up against Joe Ross, who pitched well, but a key error on a ball that was called fair that could have easily been called foul. The Mets were able to cash it in, and that put the Mets ahead and put Ross on the short end. 0-2 to Tejada.
Just the play that first baseman Robinson tried to catch. He had time to try to get in front of that ball and knock it down, at least get one out. But Mets have they deserve a couple of breaks.
O2 coming, and it bounces away. You know, people look at pitching and they look at offense and they savor home runs, but in the way the game is played now, particularly with the Mets, because their offense is limited and their pitching is so good, it seems as though defense wins and loses every game.
Defense and the little parts of the offense, getting guys over.
Bobby Parnell getting ready to pitch the 8th inning for the Mets. 1-2 coming to Tejada. This is low and in.
You're right. It's defense, which hurt the Mets last night, helped the Nats. Situational hitting, base running, all the great skills that used to be so important.
And managerial decisions.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that decision of Matt Williams to bring the infield in last inning, it didn't directly hurt him, but it was bizarre.
It could have. I mean, if it wasn't for the play by Espinoza, that could have been a 2-run single for Plawecki. That should have been a can of corn if he had his infield back. But a couple of unconventional moves in that inning. Brought in Rivero to face Granderson when he could have walked him and kept Barrett in, not to have to use Rivero until later.
Well, it might, if you end up with an extra inning game, that could affect matters later on. Wasting a player. Tejada pops one up. Robinson should have room in foul ground. One away. Let's check in with the studio. Doug Williams has another game break brought to you by Ford. Did we talk about Nate Carnes, who got traded for Felipe Rivero?
You're like a sage.
He's having a little league game tonight, up 1-0 on his own home run.
Right.
When's the last time an American League pitcher hit a home run?
I don't know.
There's Daniel Murphy, who's 0 for 3. Tampa Bay, there's a game under 500. I have no idea how they're there.
Yeah.
Who plays for them?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was putting down some things today, and I was thinking about Tampa Bay because I'm going to have to know a lot about Tampa Bay soon. And really, the only player who comes to mind, other than their pitchers for me, is Kevin Kiermaier, their center fielder, who's outstanding.
I mean, they have Longoria.
Longoria,
everybody
of course.
knows him.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it's just a collection of no names, and somehow they have kept their heads above water.
36-year-old manager in Kevin Cash.
Murphy shoots one toward the middle. Desmond, though, to his left, has time, throws him out. Nicely done by Desmond, 2 away.
Well, Desmond might have found his game here in this series. Shaded just barely up the middle, but great range. This ball's a bullet up the middle. But it stayed up just enough for Desmond to get there in the accurate throw.
Stretched by Robinson to stay on the bag. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Lucas Duda against the left-hander. Lucas 0 for 2 was also hit by a pitch. Takes a fastball for a strike.
This kid is quite a find. 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Threw one 97 to strike out Curtis Granderson.
And he throws one by Duda. 0-2. Final game of this series tomorrow afternoon. Your City probables: Noah Syndergaard for the Mets, Jordan Zimmerman for the Nats. The 12:30 start tomorrow here in D.C. Get here early. Slider off the plate. 1-2 to Duda. And Syndergaard pitched low enough to win his last time out. But didn't get a win.
Gave up that home run. Just went over the fence. Newman Heights almost caught Peralta's home run.
Hit in the air to deep center field. Back goes Taylor to the warning track near the wall, and it's off the fence. Duda heads for second, and he's in standing with a 2-out double. Didn't miss a home run by much off that high Geico fence in right center.
Well, just a bullet. Fastball away. Didn't get it there. And Duda all over it. It bounced back where Taylor might have had to play at second, but the shift, no one covering second.
Duda almost decapitated the Gecko.
That was a bullet.
So 2 out. A runner in scoring position for Flores, who's had a good night. Drove in the first run of this game with a 2-out hit in the 4th. Singled and scored in the 7th. He won't get a chance to swing the bat. They'd rather face the left-hand hitter Neuenhuis. Mets have plenty of right-handed bats on the bench, and on cue, John Mayberry comes out of the dugout. He'll bat for Neuenhuis. There's nobody up in the Nats bullpen, so it will be Mayberry against the left-hander.
I know that has become a big thing. There's the bullpen with no one up. Another unconventional kind of move by Matt Williams here.
Again, if he doesn't make the move last inning, now he's got another pitcher available this inning. And maybe has a right-hander available in this spot.
That's right.
So the Mets get the advantage of the matchup, and they'll get Mayberry up against the lefty.
I know we don't use this stuff, but I see it all the time on other stations. I would have liked to have seen, for the first time this year, the exit velocity of that Duda hit, because that had to be 110 plus.
Well, the Mets have already had one big pinch hit in this game. Eric Campbell drove in the tying and go-ahead runs in the 7th. Mayberry is just 2 for 26 as a pinch hitter this year. So maybe it's a night for the Mets pinch hitters to break out. Mayberry batting for Neuenhuis, who went 0 for 3 tonight. 2 on and 2 out. And John takes a strike on the outside corner. Mayberry went 0 for 4 last night. Started the game in left field. Reaches for it, hits it to center, but right at Taylor, and that retires the side. Bobby Parnell getting ready for the bottom of the 8th. 3-2 New York. just a great town to look at the sights, isn't it? Chris Carlin tonight after the post game, he'll be in Binghamton, or somebody will be, to hear from Michael Conforto and a bartender from Binghamton, Candy. Oh, not sure we even want to hear about that after the post game tonight.
Always
Ron Mayberry stays in the left.
Always beware of the girls with just one name
and the I at the end.
Bobby Parnell pitched in Sunday's game, so did everybody, but he got an out in the 8th and pitched the 9th, gave up a couple of hits but no runs. Boy, that first batter face, 375, not a good number.
But otherwise, he's been awfully good.
He has.
Despite diminished velocity since coming back from Tommy John surgery. Lower third of the order, Ramos, Dendecker, and the pitcher spot due up against Parnell after Mejia contributed a scoreless 7th. 6 innings from Jacob deGrom tonight. He allowed 2 runs, 3 hits, no walks, 8 strikeouts, and is in line for the win. It was Ramos who did the damage against deGrom with an opposite field 2-run homer that gave the Nats the lead in the 5th inning.
Whenever I think of Bobby, it's a game he pitched here that didn't work out very well, where he threw 11 or 12 curveballs in a row.
Tejada fields the grounder, and Ramos retired, 1 out in the 8th.
Boy, wouldn't it be strange if Bobby Parnell has his best success as a Met when he's not throwing 100, when he's throwing 90? That would be crazy, wouldn't it?
You know, I think that Bobby became a better pitcher when he stopped throwing 100.
I agree.
And started throwing more curveballs.
Sinking the ball a little bit.
And that's, 2 years ago when he finally hit his stride as a closer. That's what he was doing.
He went from a thrower to a pitcher.
There's Dendecker, who's grounded out and struck out 0 for 2. Dendecker had a big 8th inning home run for the Nats on Friday night against the Dodgers. That came as a pinch hitter that lifted them to a win. Dan Uggla on deck to pinch hit. Tap toward the right of the mound, and Parnell with the flip for the 2nd out. So Bobby gets 2 ground balls. He's got 2 outs, and now he'll face Dan Uggla with 2 out and nobody on.
Bobby got off that mound quickly. Nice play.
He was watching DeGrom.
Yeah. Now
maybe Lazorka.
Exactly. Pilecki will come out now with Murphy. Give him a blow after a short sprint to first.
Uggla has only 1 home run this year, but he's still dangerous. He's got a home run in his career against Parnell. Tanner Roark up in the Nats bullpen, and right at the bottom where you can barely see him, Drew Storen, just in case the Nats tie this game up. Meanwhile, Jerry's Familia is up in the Mets bullpen in case Parnell needs help here in the 8th. And Uggla takes inside, ball 1. Dyer has batting gloves in his hand. It's such a push-pull with Dyer. You want to use his bat if he's available, but if he's going to be disabled, you don't want to use him because then it restricts you from backdating him. So it's really it's a difficult call on him because he's got a knee that is barking, but doesn't completely prevent him from playing.
And you're going to have to, if you want to run for him, you're going to have to use one of the starting pitchers tonight, Carlos Torres, back in that bullpen.
Two and 0 to Uggla. And there's a strike. Well, John Neese's pinch run before.
Yes.
You can do that.
If you lined up all the Rule 5 guys of all time, Uggla's got to be on that list of one of the most successful ever. There's Jonathan.
You know, number 1 on that list is George Bell.
George Bell, that's right.
Rule 5 from the Phillies to the Blue Jays. MVP.
3 home runs on opening day, I believe, one year. Last time I saw George, I had to hit him in the game. Manager made me hit him.
Made you?
Well, in those days, yeah.
I can't even imagine who that manager was. TLR?
No.
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 Check swing, and Uggla fouls it.
This was in a minor league game. He was with the Syracuse Chiefs, as was Tony Fernandez. They had a really good ball club there.
Well, that's the ball club that eventually won 2 World Series.
Yep. Fred Manrique was the second baseman.
3-2 to Uggla. Got him looking. Parnell paints the outside corner at the knees and gets Uggla to end the inning. 1-2-3 for Bobby Parnell. Off to the 9th we go. 3-2 New York. All right, gentlemen, Tanner Roark will pitch the top of the 9th inning for the Nats.
I said last night, a 15-game winner last night, shuttled between the bullpen and starting, and his numbers have not been as strong as he was last year, understandably.
Kevin Plawecki leads off, lines one right over the glove of the third baseman Escobar, and Plawecki's got a base hit. Dendecker gets it back in quickly and holds Plawecki to single, but the ball gets away, and Plawecki goes to second. He's going to turn and try for third. Robinson has trouble picking it up, and Plawecki stands at third base. Well, the Nats played brilliant defense last night, not tonight. And Plawecki takes 2 bases on the throwing error by Dendecker.
Well, one, good hitting by Plawecki. I don't know what Dendecker was thinking. Plawecki's not going to go to second. He makes the throw. Well, just at that point, Espinosa, somehow you got to block that ball. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. But Dendecker's got to throw that ball to Ian Desmond. And he overthrew Desmond, made it a tough play in Espinosa. And next thing you know, you got a Little League game going.
I think it hit Espinosa on his bare hand, and then he shied out of the way. Here's Kadire as a pinch hitter, batting for the pitcher. So Michael Kadire, who has been out of the lineup the last couple of days because his knee acted up in St. Louis on Sunday, getting the pinch hitting assignment here. The infield is in. Mets looking for insurance in the top of the 9th. And he pulls one foul, and it's 1-1.
Got to be difficult, though. Whenever I talk to hitters, they always talk about their bottom half. If they're not strong in their foundation, it's hard to hit. I wonder how that will affect Mr. Kadire.
Able to lay off the slider from Roark, and it's 2-1. Well, the Mets have been able to take advantage of Washington mistakes tonight. Robinson made the big error in the 7th, and the Mets cashed it in for 2. Now trying to cash in on Dendecker's error.
I do agree with the infield in here.
Yes.
Roark is interesting because he's not really a strikeout pitcher. So a difficult task to try to get out of this inning, and the Mets are trying to add on.
3-1 coming, and it's inside, ball 4. So Kadire draws a walk, and let's see if the Mets run for him, or if Terry feels as though he can run for himself. And I don't see anybody moving.
Nope.
So I guess he's okay to run. Now the question is, can he break up a double play? Juan Lagares 1 for 3, singled back in the 5th, 1st and 3rd and nobody out, and the infield halfway.
Well, they're halfway. They will turn 2 if they get a ball up the middle. The problem for Plawecki is he does not have a lot of speed, and if a bullet is hit to Espinoza or Desmond, they both have strong enough arms to maybe come home with it. So you're going to have to get a great secondary lead and really be aggressive if that ball's hit on the ground.
But you got to go either way, because you don't want them to turn the double play and still be standing at 3rd.
You have to go, and the other thing you have to do, though, Gary, is you have to read it. If it's hit too hard and you go, you have to get into a rundown to get the runners around to 2nd and 3rd.
Lagares offering at that last pitch. 0-2. Granderson waiting on deck. And Lagares takes up and in. Well, this is a situation where the Mets have got to squeeze another run in. I don't necessarily mean that literally, although they were effective with the squeeze play on Sunday with Eric Campbell. But they've got to get another run home. This is exactly what they had before Familia came in the 9th inning in the 13th inning Sunday. Right, they got the run, and then they had a runner at 3rd with nobody out, could not tack on, and then Familia gave up the Colton Wong home run.
Well, these are just so important. It's back to situational hitting. Only way you can not be effective here is to pop it up or strike out. Put it into play. Something good can happen.
1-2 to Juan Lagares. And he lays off the slider. 2-2. Plawecki singled, took 3rd on the throwing error by Dendecker. Kadire drew a walk as a pinch hitter. Two to Lagares, and he checks his swing, went around a foul tip, strike 3, and that's the first down of the inning.
Boy, not a good at bat by Juan there. Ball's not even close.
He probably would have been ruled to have stopped his swing in time. The problem was he foul tipped.
That's right. You saw the home plate umpire giving the signal.
So that's the first down of the inning. Now Curtis Granderson, who's 1 for 4 tonight, singled, stole a base, scored the first run of this game back in the 4th. Mets led 1-0, trailed 2-1, took the lead in the 7th on Campbell's 2-run pinch hit single. Now trying to add insurance in the 9th, and Granderson pulls one but foul.
But it comes into play now, Gary, what you were talking about before. Kadire with the bulky knee at first base. Can he get the second to break up a possible double play?
Granderson lines one into right center for a base hit. That brings in Plawecki with the insurance run. Curtis Granderson with his 2nd hit of the night. Drives in his 31st run of the year, and the Mets now lead 4-2 in the 9th.
Well, mistakes by the Nationals all night long, giving the Mets extra outs. And nice hitting by Granderson. Not trying to do too much. Keep the line moving.
So 2 Nationals errors have led to 3 Mets runs. 4-2 New York, and now Ruben Tejada with still only 1 out and 2 men aboard. Ruben tonight is 0 for 4, 8-game hitting streak on the line. That's now with 8 hits on the night. 5 of them in the last 3 innings. Pulled over the bag, but just foul.
I was watching Godiah run between first and second. He looked fine to me, Gary. He was even thinking of going from first to third, but then shut it down. So no limp or obvious limp in his running.
Well, he took a new anti-inflammatory yesterday, and they were hoping that that would reduce some of the inflammation caused by that bone bruise in his left knee. And perhaps it has taken. Ball and a strike to Tejada. Got a little wind blowing here as though there's a thunderstorm.
Yes, it can happen anytime here with all this humidity.
Maybe our set will blow down again.
Well, those oral anti-inflammatory medicines, they do the trick. But boy, they are so strong. I was on them after I had my first operation on my elbow for the rest of my career with the Mets, and it just ripped open my stomach wall. They're just so strong.
Always tell you to take them with food.
That's well, milk. They say always take a lot of milk.
2-2 to Ruben. Well, Jerry's Familia getting ready for the save opportunity in the ninth. Taylor, Espinoza, and Harper due up. So it's not a walk in the park quite yet. 2-2 to Tejada with Murphy on deck. Hard-working inning for Tanner Roark. He's given up 2 hits and a walk already. And Tejada fouls another one. Ruben's already had some long at-bats tonight. He had a 9-pitch marathon against Joe Ross back in the 4th inning. Wound up hitting an advancing ground ball that helped build the first Met run. Nobody up behind Roark. This is his inning to finish. Two coming. Another foul ball.
Boy, Ruben looks like the player he was when he hit well over 280 that one year, Gary. It's exactly what he would do. Long at bats, fight it with 2 strikes.
Get the ball to right field.
Yep.
7th pitch of the at bat coming. And Tejada bounces that one foul. Drive you crazy.
You know, he used to do that to me. Do you remember shortstop for the Braves, Rafael Belliard? He just would foul pitch after pitch. I was like, will you please just make an out? Stop it already.
Again, the 2-2. And Ruben shoots one over the bag. That's a fair ball. Kadire to third. He's going to be waved home. Granderson to third. It's an RBI single for Ruben Tejada. And now the Mets with 2 runs in the ninth, lead at 5-2. Another terrific turn at bat for Tejada.
Just great hitting. Finally gets a fastball that he can hit down the right side. Robinson was playing way off the bag. No chance. Outstanding at bat by Ruben.
So the Mets have 2 runs home against Roark here in the ninth. They'll get some warm-up action now in that Nationals bullpen. Abel De Los Santos, who was just called up yesterday, beginning to throw. And Steve McCann, the pitching coach, out for a conversation. So the Mets able to put together some big hits in these late innings, fueled by some Washington miscues, and cashing in 2 in the 7th and now 2 in the 9th.
Well, you know, this is kind of how the Mets win their games. They're 34-5 when they score 4 or more runs. And yes, they've had a lot of help from the Nationals, but you know what? They've had a lot of big hits, something you haven't seen in a while.
First time since the All-Star break that the Mets have put together a 5-run outing.
What are they with runners in scoring position today? It must be fantastic.
Better than in weeks.
That's right.
Chance for more now. Granderson at third, Tejada at first with one out. Murphy's 0 for 4 tonight. And he lines one into center field for a base hit, and that'll bring in another run. Granderson comes in to score. Murphy with the RBI single. 6-2 New York. 3 straight run-scoring hits against Tanner Roark. And Matt Williams will make a pitching change. So the Mets came into this ninth with a 1-run lead, and they've tacked on 3. 6-2 Mets in the ninth. Pitching change for the Nats. We'll be right back to Nationals Park.
Came over from Texas in the Ross Detweiler trade when they sent Detweiler to Texas. Hasn't given up a run in the minor leagues since, boy, forever. Great talent.
First man he'll face in the major leagues is Lucas Duda. Mets have 3 runs home in the ninth. Tejada at second, Murphy at first and 1 out. Duda had a long double off the fence in right center his last time. And one pops out of the mid of Ramos, but the runners stay put. Tanner Roark faced 6 batters, retired only 1. That's 5 for 13 with runners in scoring position tonight. In their previous 10 games, they have been 4 for 72. Couple of raindrops starting to fall. Duda takes a big hack at a fastball, 1-1. So in Philadelphia tonight, the Rays lead the Phillies 1-0 in the bottom of the 8th on a home run by the Tampa Bay pitcher Nate Carnes. First home run by an American League pitcher since 2011 when Zach Britton hit one. And what was the stat that you just told me?
Jason Stark just tweeted that no interleague game has ever ended 1-0 where the only run was scored on a home run by an AL pitcher.
That makes sense.
Jason's always so good with his numbers. The best.
He knows the quirky stuff better than
He's the best. He's the best. I love reading his stuff.
Omar Flores on deck. So De Los Santos behind his first hitter in the major leagues, 3-1. Odd way he has of taking his sign. 3-1 coming to Duda, and he fouled back the fastball. He's had some good swings in this at bat. Duda hit some line drives into outs in St. Louis. He had a base hit up the middle yesterday. He banged one off the wall in right center today. Maybe, just maybe, he's starting to come around.
You know, I remember a player once saying he had a bad first half, and he said to the reporter, "I'm not worried." And they asked the manager. He said, "Well, maybe he should be." And maybe that's what's happened to Duda. He's just pedal to the metal.
3-2. Inside, ball 4, and the bases are loaded. So De Los Santos walks the first batter he faces in the major leagues, and now the Mets have the bases loaded and 1 out. And Wilmer Flores, who has the Mets' only grand slam this year, will come to bat.
Matt Williams yelling at home plate umpire McClinsky that pitch was a strike.
Matt hasn't had a very good night.
No.
So here's Flores, who's 2 for 3 in a walk today. He's driven in a run. He's scored a run. Bases loaded, 1 out. Mets has already scored 3 in the ninth. Flores trying to put it away. And he breaks his bat, rolls one to short. Desmond is going to have to go to first with it. That brings in another run. He gets Flores for the second out, but Tejada scores the 4th run of the inning, and it's now 7-2 New York.
Couple RBIs now for Wilmer Flores. Nice night, 2 hits, run scored, RBI. If you make contact, you never know. Broken bat, sawed in half, and not hit hard enough to turn 2.
So he trades a bat for a run, and the Mets now with a 5-run lead.
I mean, the Mets, I don't think they've spent this much time high-fiving each other in quite some time.
Only after the game on Sunday. There's a lot of screaming and yelling after that. 9th man up in the inning is John Mayberry, who came up as a pinch hitter in the 8th and lined out to center field, stayed in the game in left field.
Interesting. He faces right at the hitter like he's going to go into a windup, instead into the stretch. We're really exposed to the elements up here in this booth. So you can really feel the wind up here.
It's going to pour pretty soon.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Mayberry fists one foul. And he broke his bat. He'll go back for a new one. The wind is just whipping around up here on the 7th floor. They call it the 5th floor, by the way.
It used to be the 7th.
Well, when they first opened the ballpark, it was the 7th floor, but then they thought, that sounds too high. So they changed the numbering system and made it the 5th floor.
That's funny. Still the same height.
There's our stage manager, Tracy. She's holding the set together.
Yeah, she's not doing a great job.
Well, she's trying her best.
Thanks, Trace.
Trying to stay equal to the elements.
It only hit us in the head once today.
But that was early. Mayberry bounces one foul. Kevin Plawecki, who started this inning with a base hit, is now on deck. So the Mets having themselves their best inning since the All-Star break. One-two to Mayberry, and he struck him out with a slider to end the inning. But the Mets put up a 4th spot in the top of the 9th to get some breathing room. 7-2 as we go to the bottom of the 9th. With the Nats down 5 and the rain impending, a number of the patrons have decided they would rather be elsewhere.
They're going up Half Street to get on the Metro.
It's a great look. You know how we used to look at the subway platform coming into Shea? It's the same thing. Fans coming in down Half Street from the Metro.
You know, a familiar in the game, even though the 5-run lead by the Mets. I was telling you before the game, Gary, when I would warm up in the bullpen for the Mets at Shea Stadium, and I would see the people coming off the subway, it used to give me goosebumps. I'd get so excited because, you know, you're going to put on a show for them. And it was a great scene.
And you could see right into the bullpen from the subway platform.
Oh, people would be yelling, "Come on, Ronnie, go get him!" You know, that kind of stuff. It's great.
Michael Taylor leads off the last of the ninth against Familia. So just as Matt Williams did last night, he got Drew Storen up in the ninth. The Nats extended their lead, and he brought Storen in with a 7-2 lead. Terry Collins does the same. He got Familia up, so he'll get him in the game.
Well, I like this move. You know, do you have other guys that should be able to protect the 5-run lead? Of course you do. But you got to have these two games. You have to have tonight's game, and you got to win tomorrow. We showed that number, 26 and 56 under Collins against Washington. That's got to turn around if you want to change your position in the NL East.
Well, the Mets came here to start the season and won 2 out of 3 from the Nats, and if they hang on to this victory, then Noah Syndergaard will have a chance to do the same for them in this series. 2-1 to Taylor, and he bloops one into right, but Granderson coming on and gets there for the out. 1 down. Well, tomorrow afternoon, final game of this series. Our coverage begins at 12 noon. First pitch 12:35. Mets and Nats right here on SNY. Well, it's starting to rain in.
My monitor just blew over. I can't drink any more of my coffee because if I do, that'll blow over.
Your pen just blew into my lap.
It's raining on my scorecard. Such a baby.
Well, we're very pampered up here. Well, some more pampered than others. I was talking about present company.
Yeah.
Here's Espinosa, who's 0 for 3. Anybody heard from Keith on Sunday? Did he get where he was going okay?
He definitely got where he was going. He's doing fine.
Didn't require admission to any medical facility?
No. He's not paying anyone over $100 an hour to sit down, talk about things.
Well, he's watching tonight. Maybe this will do him some good.
But he'll come back like a bear on Thursday. You know he will.
With Kershaw pitching.
Yes.
Oh, 0-2 to Espinosa, who's 0 for 3 on the night. Weakly grounded due to ranging wide. Familia covering, but he missed the bag. And he knew he'd missed the bag, and he tried to sweep the tag on Espinosa, but just not really in Familia's repertoire.
Well, this is another play, though, and you know, I know that you want your infielders to get every play, but Lucas has got to read that ball's hit so softly that Flores is going to make the play easily. Go back to first base and make it an easy play. Don't include the pitcher in this play. I mean, yes, Familia should get the job done also.
I mean, Familia's got to find the base first before he starts looking for the ball, right?
You have to go to the line and run up the line. If you run up the line, you can't miss the base. The base is on the line. So if you come in at a certain angle and don't pick the right angle, you're going to miss the base, and that's what happened.
So it's an infield hit for Espinosa. Harper bats with a man on, 0 for 3 tonight. And Bryce takes a fastball for a strike at 98 miles an hour.
You just have to know when you play first, if the ball's hit to your right and it's hit off the end of the bat like it was Espinosa, you just go to first because Flores is going to get there. It becomes an easy play. You never want to include pitchers if you can help it.
What about Jack Lazorko?
Well, Lazorko.
How was he covering first? Harper's hit by the pitch. And now all of a sudden the Nats have 2 men on.
Well, we talked about it last night with Storen, didn't we? This hits Harper right on the toe. That closers sometimes, when they don't have that adrenaline rush, sometimes they're not as effective. Well, There's one out here. He should have had 2 outs because the easy ball hit by Espinosa, but now has a couple runners on.
So now he'll contend with Yunel Escobar. Harper taking his time getting down to first base. Just a slight limp after it hit him on the left toe. Escobar tonight 1 for 3. He doubled and scored the first run for the Nationals. Espinosa at second, Harper at first with 1 out. 7-2 New York in the ninth. Those 4 insurance runs looming awfully large right now. And the sinker is low and in for ball 1. 99 pitching angry. He is such a nice man, but he has such great stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like he's against the typecast of the closer.
Yeah, like most closers come in and they got a snarl, or they, prance around the mound, and you have like a Kimbrel has like that stance before he gets the
or Papelbon with his stare.
Yeah. Tight-lipped stare.
But he has been an absolute monster as far as accomplishing what he has needed to in the ninth inning.
If he had not had the year he's had, this team could have been buried, Gary.
Well, he's been the Mets MVP.
Yeah.
I know some people say DeGrom, and DeGrom's had a great year. But without Familia, the Mets are nowhere. 2-1 to Escobar. And he threw that ball by him at 98. 2-2.
Well, there used to be a time when offenses would try to work the starting pitcher, get in the bullpen. Those days are gone. The guys coming in from the bullpen are throwing harder than the starters sometimes. I mean, are you going to work the Kansas City starter to get to who? Herrera, Davis, and Holland? I don't think so.
It's not a good formula. Struck him out. Familia blowing it by Escobar at 99 miles an hour.
That ball is sinking about 6 inches at 98 miles an hour, running in on a right-handed hitter. No chance.
So the Nationals are down to their final out. Clint Robinson, whose error opened the door for the Mets to take the lead in this game. 1 for 3 at the plate tonight. Espinosa at second, Harper at first, and 2 out. Mets were down 2-1 when Robinson couldn't handle a ground ball right over the first base bag. Could have been a foul ball, but it was called fair. But 2 in scoring position. Eric Campbell cashed them in, and the Mets have been in front ever since. And now Familia trying to put on the finishing touches for Jacob deGrom, who would have his 10th victory of the season.
You think that play will ever be reviewable? I know it's not yet. Before the bag,
I don't know.
We never got an angle that we could positively say it was fair or foul.
And the other thing is, you get those plays, and this one doesn't necessarily fall into that category where it's fair before the bag and foul after the bag.
Yeah.
And you can never tell on replay.
That's right.
There's no definitive way of telling where the ball crossed in the air. That's one of the hardest calls umpires have.
Well, I know that a lot of managers will look at their catcher and say, hey, was that, and the catcher will mouth fair or foul, because they have a great view of it.
Two and one to Robinson. And he taps that one foul, and now the Nationals are down to their final strike. These two teams still have a lot of baseball to play with each other this year. This is the 9th of 19 meetings.
Mets come back again in what, September? Labor Day weekend. not weekend, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Labor Day game.
2-2 to Robinson. Had a fast bat to foul that back. Almost imminently tomorrow afternoon with Syndergaard against Zimmerman, and then 3 more games at Citi Field the end of next week.
It seems like every time Syndergaard gets a start, it's a pretty big start, right? Starts out in Wrigley Field. Had that big start in St. Louis, which he handled well. Faced Kershaw.
2-2 coming. Bouncing ball. Duda backs off. Familia gets to the bag. Hits it this time, and the ball game is over. The Mets rally for 2 in the 7th, 4 in the 9th. Jacob deGrom gets his 10th win. Eric Campbell with the big hit. And the Mets defeat the Nationals 7-2 to get even in this series.
Well, it was nice to see Terry Collins' crew get some offense, get some hits with runners in scoring position. Familia cleans it up. Jacob deGrom with a nice effort, and it was nice to see him get a couple of runs. He was on the losing end. They got a couple of runs against Joe Ross in the bullpen, and that made him the winner.
deGrom goes 6, allows 2 runs. The bullpen throws 3 scoreless innings. Mejia, Parnell, and Familia. The Mets tack on late and beat the Nationals 7-2. There's your Verizon game summary. Eric Campbell, the 2-run pinch hit single in the 7th that put the Mets